when I first, I didn't have a car. Obviously, at 15, I couldn't drive. So I had this idea that I wanted to fish flamingo, and my uncle had taken me to Flamingo a couple of times on his boat, and I kind of knew the area a little bit, and I was starting to learn it. And my dad, would just like, no, I couldn't spend a whole day out there with the mosquitoes and all the stuff, and so I said, okay, look, just take me, drop me off, and then come back and get me the next day. He goes, what are you going to do? I go, I got tents, I can camp, I can, set it up. I'll take my brother, and he can come with me and he can learn. And sure enough, he would drop me off on a Saturday morning. We'd get up early. He'd drive my rig down with my aluminum boat with a 25 horsepower, and we'd go and put it in the water, and we'd go to exploring Whitewater Bay, Shark River, all the stuff out front.
You were free
to do whatever I wanted to do, set up our tent right before dark. And sometimes I was by myself doing this. And then he'd come on Sunday evening and pick up the boys, and we'd load up the trailer and go home, and I'd sleep the whole way home.
You know what? That's really awesome in the fact that a lot of fathers in today's society would never allow their kids to get too far away from home just because of the elements now. It's a different world.
It is.
I remember growing up in Aspen, I was like 12 years old, and I'd go, and our house was right on the road to Maroon Lake. Maybe even younger, maybe like 10. And I'd get my fishing stuff because I was a freak for fishing. And I'd stick my thumb out and I'd hitchhike up to the lake. I'd spend the whole day at the lake, and then I'd come down. And then eventually I got a piece of visqueen. And they told me that there was a high mountain lake, called Willow Lake. And it was kind of up and around this corner. And like when I was 12, I had a backpack, and I'd backpack up into this lake and spend the weekend up there by myself under this piece of visqueen. And when it would rain, oh my God, it was terrible. No sleep, soaking wet, shivering my ass off, and you'd wake up and you'd try to make a fire, but there's no firewood. You're above tree line and everything's wet. But that's what we did. And we had parents that allowed us to go out and be adventurous, knowing that this is part of growth. And unfortunately, you don't see a whole lot of that anymore.
No, you don't see that much of that at all. In the Keys, you see that to a degree. You definitely see that the kids, we've got some of the best fishing kids right now that I've ever seen in the Keys. The young kids here, it's hard to even compete with them.
They're so good.
They're so good.
Now, what are they doing differently? Because these spots better than anybody.
Yeah, but it's not even knowing those spots. They're finding out newer ways of catching fish in different places, and not traditional old school spots, but they're figuring it out, and they're spending all their time fishing. And
how old are these kids now?
16 to 19 to 20. Some of them are starting to guide now.
Right, Polly
Ross.
Yeah,
fantastic kid.
But what's interesting too? They're not specific to the backcountry or to offshore. They do it all.
Yep.
Right?
It's like Richard Black.
Yep, Richard Black does it all. Yeah,
it's funny because
does it all great.
Yeah, Jared Raskob says, this guy's unbelievable. I can go catch this and that, and somebody might catch a grand slam. But this kid will go offshore and catch a sailfish and maybe a marlin and catch a big grouper, and then come back in and catch 14 bonefish, 150-pound tarpon, and a 26-pound permit by noon.
Right, right.
He says he's like the new Ralph Delf.
Yeah. I'm sure, and Polly Ross is right in those steps too. And you're hearing a lot of new names, but I think that right now, even before Jared's day, because he was great as a kid also, but and we all knew it. But now I think there's a whole crew that has seen the Jareds of the world, right, come up and be successful, be on TV, do all the great things that he does, and then they're inspired. They know it's possible.
Sure.
And a lot of their dads are charter boat captains, so they're offshore
so
guys.
So they have a DNA.
Yeah.
The whole family.